Thanks for staying with us, joining the conversation. I know before the break, somebody wanted to say something, or I should bring it out. Okay, go ahead. Let me let you respond. Yes.
Thank you very much. I think I'm actually enjoying myself because you see the full throttle of Nigeria on this table, especially in the midst of women. Because sometimes our society looks down on women. But you have been able to prove that you're strong and very, very thoughtful. I'm not just condescending, but this is a fact. Now, there's no doubt that the Nigerian society is not perfect right now. I think we can all agree with that. I think majority of Nigerians will also agree that we'll move forward. We're not where we will be. But one of the most underreported is that the decades that the military were in the lives of Nigerians. If you give birth to a child now, and that child is 30 years old, what have you taken away from the life of that particular child? Because democracy is a process. People grow in it, like we have been growing. But imagine if there was no interruption from the 60s, when Nigeria was actually ahead of most of these Asian countries that we're talking about. But some folks looking for the ideal, like YK is saying, woke up one day and said, this is not good, and took over the government. And we have been in that abyss since that for a very long time. We had this dictator you are talking about. IBB was in government for what, 9 years? And believe it or not, some Nigerians will even still romanticize that particular time. And you want to cry when you hear those kind of people. But that's the whole gamut of the Nigerian society. We are a very resilient, strong people. I think the discussion should be more of how do we get our democracy better?
Yes.
Okay, let me bring our guests, because we have with us Mr. Seun Kuti. He's a Nigerian singer, saxophonist, band leader, and also carries the Afrobeat legacy of his father. And he's a superstar, own personal, international, global superstar. Mr. Seun Kuti in the building. Seun, are you there? I can't hear you. The network in the country you are in has problem, not Nigeria.
Okay.
Let me unmute.
Oh,
hello.
Good. Fantastic. So, Seun, you've been listening to the conversation we've been having for at least the last 1 hour about Nigeria's democracy. It's June 12th today, and everybody's discussing June 12th in one way or the other. But our focus really is democracy working for us, and how do we modify it, or how do we develop it? What's your own view?
June 12th doesn't mean anything to
me. I need
me.
volume. I can't hear you.
My father's son. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
I
Maybe
said June 12th doesn't mean anything to me. Can you guys? Oh, wow. But the network here is really good. Anyway, I said, for me, June 12th doesn't really mean anything because I'm my father's son. So Abiola and his mandate can just keep it where they are. But generally, in Nigeria's issues, I think our issue is summed up in one word, is neocolonialism. And we are in the process, there are those who have refused to decolonize and those who are in the process of decolonization.
Okay.
I think Nigeria is ruled by those who have refused to decolonize. I mean, that's why we're even getting a lot of even as I'm listening to this show, we don't seem to see the answers that are looking at us right in the face. The reason why China is free is because Chairman Mao, which is a name nobody mentioned throughout your analysis of China, through the Chinese Communist Party, which is a socialist project, has raised over 800 million people out of poverty. To do this, they had to decolonize. And that's why you have a country like Taiwan, right? Because Tang Chek and the Chinese Nationalist Party, who are the capitalists of the country, who refuse, just like our elites, refuse to break colonial ties. Chairman Mao took the fight to them. It was a civil war in China. Until today, those people are still refused to accept and embrace and live with their people as equals. That's why they have their own country. That's why if you support Taiwan, China cannot even talk to you. China don't want to talk to anybody that supports Taiwan because that is a country of their previous oppressors. So we Nigerians too must begin to see our enemies the way the Chinese saw their enemies. It's either they succumb to our will or we eliminate them out of our society. That's the only way forward. Total decolonization. I'm happy people are talking about China, because that is all China did to achieve progress. But in Nigeria, we excuse our oppressors. Because I hear the subsidy talk, and we are talking as if the president did something brave by removing subsidy. It was a cowardly act. A very cowardly act. The problem with the subsidy in Nigeria has never been the fact that the Nigerians are giving subsidy. The problem with subsidy in Nigeria is the corruption in the system.
Exactly.
And the president was too cowardly to go against the corrupt individuals. Finish. And instead of going against a few people that makes that system unmanageable, he decided to punish the entirety of the country for the crimes of a few. And we praise that as some. There was nothing noble about that. He knows himself, because the president of Nigeria today is a man that I know, and he knows I know him personally. So he knows that even that act he took goes against his own principles, at least the principles I knew him with as a young boy, and him as a leader of thought in our school of thought in those days. So whatever anybody is saying today, for me, is because we are all elitists.
Let me come.
That's all.
Let me come to you because of this issue of decolonization. I mean, and I think a few weeks back I had discussed the reigning leader in Africa, Ibrahim Traore, how he seems to be working against the dictators that have come, well, not dictators, the foreign influences of their country.
Please,
now,
let's not talk about dictatorships. You see, when people talk about dictators, we are going back in Africa. We've been there, we've done that.
Yeah.
Traore is playing directly from the playbook of dictators. There's no decolonization happening in Burkina Faso. I mean, he's telling us to remove French boots from our neck because the Russian boots is better. No, I'm waiting for somebody to come and explain to me how Vladimir Putin has the benefit of Africans in his heart more than the benefit of Russians. This is geopolitical gameplay. I don't want us to discuss military. The fact that Africans are even discussing military today is a failure of our elites, of our political and business elites.
Sorry, Sean, to cut you off. A few people also call the Rwanda, they make him an example of that dictatorship that works. What do you think about that?
How does it work, really? This man has to continue going to kill and murder Congolese people for his country to work, because America allows him to commit atrocities upon the Congolese. We need to remove this American and British lens and look at ourselves properly. I don't want the kind of development in my country where we have to cause pain on our brothers for us to survive.
Okay, I guess wanted to say something.
I want us to survive as Africans.
Okay, I guess wanted to say something. Go ahead, sir.
Let me get a quick response. I think it's obvious that Seun and YK are chips of the old block. That you are your father's children. So I would not have expected otherwise. We were very close followers of your dad. God bless his soul. But I take issue with your perception of the subsidy. It is impossible for the president to go to the borders to monitor people that are using jerry cans to take the fuel into other countries. So basically,
those are small criminals.
Okay, it wasn't only the small ones. It wasn't only the.
If you remember in 20.
So you have to let him finish so that we can have his perspective, and then you respond.
We have time. Let's discuss what is. This is already public knowledge. In the Senate, we sat there in 2012, where the big companies of Nigeria came out to talk about their subsidy programs. The Senate investigated it. The problem was never jerry cans living and tanks. The problem is right at the core of the big marketers. I mean, all of it was exposed in the Senate.
Okay, I was just using that.
10 years ago.
So let him respond.
I was just using.
Let him finish.
Go back to blame people carrying jerry cans.
Let's leave the jerry can for a second. Let him respond so that we can get a proper conversation.
All right, and I was just using that as an example of a very difficult issue to resolve.
Okay.
And you being on your outside and quote-unquote leader of thought is different when you're elected and you are the president of a diverse country like Nigeria. So that decision, I believe that was a very courageous decision because it's a decision that has the tendency to cost the person
to cost the masses,
it's also
not the criminals.
Okay. But if you follow now, you see that the country actually saved more money from when the subsidy was removed. And would you agree that there were some savings from not doing the subsidy?
Are they sharing these savings to Nigerians to alleviate or ameliorate?
Right, those are the arguments those are the arguments.
Savings, when we talk about savings, when we say difficult, is ruling a country supposed to be easy? Is it supposed to be a walk in the park to rule a country? Didn't the president know that Nigeria was a highly divisive, mad place before he put his hat in the ring to say he wants to be president of that divisive, crazy place?
I think we should, excuse me, I think we should
hold water to me.
Okay, that's fine. So, Seun, the conversation, wait, one second, it's okay. So, the show is about expressing our views. So, everybody's entitled to their view, although we don't agree with it, but we must respect and understand it. So, let me let Ramatu jump in here and then I'll come back to you, Seun.
Okay, so in a nutshell, how do you think democracy is going to be better for all of us? How do you think we will enjoy it? In a nutshell, just give us some tips on how we can enjoy this democracy because really, we're not really feeling it much.
Until you and I take it seriously, you and I have to take it seriously. I think,
so in what ways?
One of the mistakes.
How?
Oh, are you asking me?
Seun, let me take you up on that for a second. Let me take you up on that for a second.
Okay, that's simple.
Okay.
If you're asking me, I mean, I think that is for us, the Nigerian professionals, to decide the kind of country that we want.
So it's really
I think for too long, the Nigerian professionals have been aligned, and I say this all the time, we've been aligned with the oppressor. Our educational system in Nigeria has not raised us to understand that our talents cannot be divorced from our national development. We've been raised to think that our talents and our skills are just for us to accumulate comfort and wealth for ourselves, to copy these people that are leading us. So we don't have that understanding, that until the doctors in Nigeria truly care about the health of Nigerians, the lawyers care about justice, the teachers, professors, lecturers care about knowledge. All these professionals must care, understand that their talent is linked to the welfare and the well-being of their people, and through that understanding organize, to form a true people's movement. We that are not part of these people that we know are destroying our country, we are too hell-bent on trying to join that class instead of making the best of our own class, which is by creating allegiances with the people, with the masses, building bridges to those of us that have been blinded by oppression, that cannot breathe because of oppression, and let them know what we know, see what we know, so that we can build together a movement that can truly bring the just aspirations of Nigerians to the fore, where we can all begin to fulfill our potential. But the problem with our so-called democracy is that we have a democracy where everybody thinks an opportunity is a reason to just be better than somebody else.
Seun, let me tell you something.
That democracy can't work.
Seun, let me tell you one of the issues I have.
No solution.
Let me tell you one of the issues I have. When people say, for democracy to work, you need to have, people must be empowered to hold the government accountable. And I keep asking myself, what the heck does that even mean? Who exactly are you holding accountable? Because the truth is, who is holding who accountable? Because the truth is, I always feel that you do better when you know better. The average person, I think the average electorate, doesn't really know better. So for me, you brought in people who you don't have access to hold them accountable. In other climes where there's democracy is functioning, I can hold Ramatu accountable because by writing her a letter, demanding she responds and getting people to vote her out if she doesn't comply with what the people are saying. But here, you organize, you talk, you discuss, you debate, you tweet, you post. Nothing happens.
Yes.
So who are you holding accountable? Is this country therefore ripe enough for a democracy that hold people accountable, or they will be held accountable for what the people are saying?
Yeah, because the people, the representatives that we put in power do not really represent that ideology. So that's why we must create what we do not have. If we do not have that, why are we not working for that?
We have one representative.
That is an organized and responsive government, a representative government. Yes, an organized and representative government. That's what that is, right? So if it doesn't exist, with all the know-how we have as Nigerian professionals, they show us on TV, we go to America, we become this one, we go to UK, we become this one. How come we cannot sit down in our country and come together with that love to create that representative government that we want by ourselves? If these people cannot deliver it, why do we want to feel like, why do we also make people feel like they cannot do it? That they cannot create an alternative.
No, I just have a quick...
We all have to always line
Sure,
up
let me
behind
pause you because we have very little time. Our guest will say something to you. Go ahead.
Seun, really, I wish we had more time so that you and me can really engage each other. But I'm just curious, since you say that this president...
Anytime. Anytime.
Wait, the Zoom is delayed, so you have to let him land so that we can hear you. Just calm down.
And your auntie or your sister is here, so that I will get your contact from her. But I'm just curious, since you said that this particular system, the democracy, is not working and you don't believe in it, are you a subscriber to communism like our sister here, Morayo, that they practice in China? Or are you talking about revolution or coup? I'm trying to figure out if we say that, if we get together.
I'm not subscribing to communism. I'm only telling you what.
I'm always talking about.
Go ahead, Seun.
I'm always talking about revolution. Always.
Nice, awesome.
Revolution being a change of the status quo.
He's not talking violence.
Okay. So
revolution about our youths are not ready.
Remember in Portugal, they had the Carnation Revolution. They had the Carnation Revolution in Portugal, where people changed government with just flowers, and not a single shot was fired, because the ideology was already in power, in motion. Revolution is ideology in motion. I believe in a socialist government, because only through socialism can the masses of Nigeria be lifted out of the situation that they are in. Nigerians need a mass poverty alleviation program that cannot work through capitalism. It is impossible. We live in a country where 1.6 trillion naira is being spent on a road. How much was the budget for education in the last Nigerian budget? 1.6 trillion naira. They are telling us they're going to spend on one road from Lagos to back. But the entire educational system of our country, how much did it get in the budget? Sure. So that is when you understand that the country itself is empowering individuals over the majority. How much did Nigeria give to Dangote's refinery alone? Over $2 billion that the claim was official that they gave for only 20% of that refinery. Where refineries of that same size, I had to post it because that same week, a refinery of that same size was sold entirely for the same amount. So we continue to see a system that empowers individuals. Is it the bankers? Everybody just, what is AMCON in Nigeria? If that this government is not cowardly, what is AMCON still doing in Nigeria? That these people cannot be made to pay the debt that they owe to Nigerian people. Say we are looking for money, we don't have money. But these same people owing these trillions have private jets, have yachts, big buildings everywhere. Nobody can ask them to return this money that was stolen from common Nigerians. This money was stolen from the banks in 2011.
It's only Abacha loot they know.
How can a country develop like that? How can the people ever get the benefit of their resources like that? When it is constantly being used to appease individuals. That's why we must become socialists.
Okay, now we know.
Okay, now we know the perspective. Yeah, okay, we have to wrap up very soon, but I think in a nutshell, I'd like you to tell your own final words, and let Seun also give us his final words so we can wrap up the show. Your final words on June 12th, Democracy Day, and how Nigerians can actually move forward from this.
I have to say that, Seun, I salute your state of mind, your thoughts, and I think that you mean well for Nigeria, that you are looking towards a more perfect Nigeria and a more ideal solution. But this is Nigeria, and what we have now is democracy. I'm not saying that what you are advocating cannot work in Nigeria.
Yes, socialism
Seun,
is
let him
democratic.
finish now.
I'm not saying that what you are advocating.
I know, but I don't want him to make insinuations.
He's making his final comment. When you are making your final comment, you will now address or redress what he's saying. Let him finish, please. Go ahead, sir.
Since I said that you read a lot, you might want to also read about the Nzeoguku, which has a lot of socialist tendencies. And that was the beginning of coups in Nigeria. And I think that what we need to do right now is to make what we have now better. But any advocacy of trying to do otherwise, like revolution, might make Nigeria, put Nigeria in a very precarious situation. I don't think Nigeria can take another civil war.
He didn't say revolution. In a violent revolution. He didn't say a violent revolution.
He didn't say violent. Yes, he did not say violent.
All right,
he
point
even
taken.
gave an example of the country.
Point taken.
On how they did
go
it.
ahead, please. Let's have your
Said
own
the
final
flowers
thoughts on
and
this.
all of
How are
that.
they going to do it?
You people are not allowing him to finish. You are allowing finish.
Exactly, it's YK.
It's your sister that didn't allow you finish.
No, don't mind them. They are trying to call.
Your point is taken, sir. Your point is taken. Let me let you finish. Your final words. I have just a minute left.
So we're going to meet and have this discussion better.
Go ahead,
A lot of time.
I believe that only a democratic system can bring the people's will to power. The problem we have in Nigeria is that we've never had a government that has brought the people's will to power.
That's correct.
Okay.
Nigerians are not stupid people. Nigerians are not foolish people.
Yes.
That is why we have almost 90 million registered voters and only maybe 15, 16 million come out to choose president and government every time, because they know that they've not heard a message that resonates with them.
That's correct.
It is not the socialist system or the pseudo-socialist, because it was not the Nigerian system in the First Republic was not socialist, but it had a welfare component to it. And it is the corruption, the capitalistic corruption of those First Republic politicians that led to the military coup, which was a CIA foreign neoliberal and neocolonial intervention in our country's politics. And it was all over Africa. It was not only in Nigeria, because we must understand that the military in Africa still remains.
Okay.
The military in Nigeria still remains one of the strongest tools for neocolonialism.
Yeah.
It's one of the strongest pillars, because Nigerians did not create this military. It's not our military. We did not form it. We did not train them.
Okay.
We did not give them
Sure,
the
I have
code
to
they
wrap
live
up
by.
now. Your minute is over.
That's why Fela asked a very important question, that in Europe and America, no matter how bad the politics, military can never take over. So how come they do it in Africa? After they've trained them, you understand?
Okay.
So we
have
don't
to wrap up
believe
here,
in
Cheryl.
dictatorships.
Unfortunately, that's all we can
Yes,
say.
as I was saying, we don't believe in
we run out of
dictatorships.
time.
We want the will of the people to come to power.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all we can take us. Thank
we
you so
need
much.
another
Seun Kuti.
segment.
Thank you.
Some
We have
other
to
day.
thank our House of Representatives, Honorable Basiru Dawodu, Chairman House Committee on Disability Matters and Senior Citizens Affairs. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I mean, I really need to call you back on this Senior Citizens and Disability.
Yes.
What is it about? Like,
Okay.
how effective?
Let's get to that.
We'll bring you back to discuss that.
That's actually very
That's,
important.
yeah, I'm just wondering how effective it is. That's all we can take on today's show. Hope you learned a few things as we have. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.